Thursday morning, a Bolivian woman and her children taken into custody. Her Cuban husband telling reporters his wife and 2 children were taken, and the youngest, who is a year old, is American.
Please tell us what we need to legally do. We entered the country legally. We don't have problems. We are not delinquents.
They're taking workers away from their cities, and they will not be silent.
We're not criminals or anything. We're here legally.
Now he's vowing to get an attorney and fight for their release, and what he wants is support.
I want the Latin community to see this and give their support or help us.
My dad went to his ICE check-in today, as he has for the last 23 years, and they detained him today. And I'm so worried about him. My dad is almost 80 years old, and he's been in this country since he was about 16 years old. So about 60 years of his life he's been here. He knows no other country, really. What ICE is doing is so inhumane and so wrong. My dad is an elderly man who has serious medical conditions. He has a progressive liver disease that, if not treated and monitored very closely and carefully, could result in death. He has diabetes. He recently had his gallbladder removed. He has sleep apnea. He takes so many medications. I mean, like, how can you have no heart? I am so scared for him. I know he is scared, hoping for a miracle.
Another Latino for Trump just found out the hard way that they are not white. This is Joe Ceballos, a self-hating Latino who voted for Trump in the 2024 election, who is currently detained by ICE. Now, this by itself isn't anything special. It's not anything new. There are plenty of stories of Latinos for Trump and self-hating Latinos who have been detained by ICE. But here is where this story gets interesting. As I mentioned before, Joe voted for Donald Trump in the 2024 election, but he did so illegally. That's right, Joe is not a US citizen. But on top of that, it turns out that he was also the mayor of an entire town in Kansas. You heard that right. Joe, the self-hating Latino who illegally voted for Donald Trump, was the mayor of Coldwater, Kansas. You can't make this up. And when asked if he regrets his vote for Donald Trump, this is what he said.
You regret voting for Trump?
I did.
He's asking, do you regret it?
Oh, no. Nope.
It's baffling that even in the end, these people continue to believe that they are white and that they will be accepted. Natural selection, do your thing. But there you have it, guys. It seems like the only people who are actually voting illegally are Trump supporters, but I digress. Let me know what you guys think.
You know, I will never understand how Trump got the Latino vote in 2024. I mean, he had, I believe it was 48% of male Latinos that loved him and voted for him in 2024. I was like, what? It made no sense to me whatsoever, especially the disrespect that he had for people, even though they were undocumented. He still didn't care about that. He put them all in the same category. But after they saw what he did with immigration and how he swept up everyone who looked brown, that I think did a huge amount of damage to his male Latino popularity. And I'm so glad they came to their senses. This is why I think November again is going to be really bad for Republicans. Check out this dip in Latino votes or numbers of what they think of Trump's performance now.
Latinos for Trump believe that the crackdown was only meant for criminals and gang members, but not their families who have lived in America for decades, are facing deportations, and they're being terrified. Workers are scared to leave their homes, Parents are afraid to drop their children at schools, and businesses are suffering. Now they're learning that elections do have consequences and policies. Don't ask who you supported before they affect your lives. So let's have a look.
It's just a reminder that even if you align yourself with whiteness as a person of color, that does not mean you will be fully accepted. I feel really terrible having to make this video, but I recently found out that a friend of my family is facing deportation. For no fault of her own, obviously, but the government picks and chooses who to deport, and most of the time, it's innocent families being broken apart. In this case, this woman has been in the United States for decades. She's a Vietnamese immigrant. She is a Republican who married a white Republican man out in Fresno. Problem is, one day they showed up, arrested her, and now she has an ankle monitor and is facing deportation to where? We don't know. They're actively looking for a place to deport her to because she has absolutely no connections or roots to her home country anymore. She is shocked. She's like, I can't believe this. I voted for Trump multiple times. I can't believe they would do this to me. It's because the administration and white people, white conservative people, do not care about you as a person of color. Even if you think you are aligned with whiteness, they will always betray you when it benefits them. And even if your close circle sees you as one of them, the institution itself does not. To them, you will always be an immigrant, which is completely sad and terrible. I feel horribly for this person, but keep in mind this is not a unique story.
I really thought they were just going to go after the criminals. I really thought there was enough gang members and enough people, MS-13 members and whatever they were looking for, that they're wanted. They would go after those guys. Robbing people for the last 10 years and you're an illegal, you have to leave the country, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
But if you've been here for 25 years, you have a family, your kids go to school here, you speak the language, you're just illegal. But you're a contributing member to the community that up until now has been protected. This is crazy to ask lower income and middle income people who are, you know, kind of getting by, and then all of a sudden you're about to ship them to a country where they've never been. They haven't been since they were 4.
Yeah.
And you're gonna pull up their family and pull up, and they've been in the community like that. That shows no heart. And that's the problem. Like, you're not going to get any reasonable people to want to go along with that. Any kind person would look at that and go, this can't be the only way to do this.
A lot of Latinos are Christian Catholic and hardcore. So they're, homophobic, they're anti-abortion. And so that lines up perfectly with the Republican agenda. Even though they say they're family values, they're very pro Epstein and protecting the predators. So I don't understand all that. And their leader, the president, divorces left and right, has affairs with prostitutes. I don't understand their whole...
No, it makes no sense.
That makes no sense.
All these Latinos that supported Trump, a lot of them are getting deported.
We told you. We saw it coming. I don't know how you didn't see it coming. But, Latinos for Trump is kind of hard. I don't know. It's like roaches for rain, I mean, it's a rough thing.
It goes back to the colonialism, mind frame. They're like, oh, let me just be with this.
Yeah.
It makes me a part of this country,
Proximity to whiteness. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so very quickly, today was at least the 5th time in this week where I've heard Trump supporters infer that, Donald Trump isn't actually serious about his mass deportation plans, and that if he is, he's only going after the criminals, the bad guys, los malos. I mean, I even heard this from a Latino Trump supporter that I personally know employs undocumented people in his house, particularly an undocumented nanny that has been sort of taking care of his kids for many years at this point. And I think this is now where it's interesting, because I think these words, migrants, send them back, deportation, the bad ones. I think these words are now starting to take a different meaning. They're no longer in the sort of far distance. They're no longer hypotheticals. They're no longer these sort of grand, big, popular ideas where people get to sort of hide their racism and their xenophobia within those ideas. Those words, send them back, are now starting to feel real. Because now suddenly people are understanding that even within their circles, there are undocumented people that have been helping them, including this Trump supporter that I know. And so I wonder if now some people are wondering whether, when Donald Trump was referring to criminals, if they're wondering if he was also referring to that nanny that they know, or the housekeeper that they know, or that teacher that they know, that nurse that they know, that neighbor that they know. I wonder if in silence, and behind closed doors, if that is a feeling or a sentiment that is starting to creep in. Because again, no matter how hard we we try to distance ourselves from this. Immigration is now personal in this country. No, it is an issue that affects almost every American. 1 out of 15 U.S. residents lives within mixed status families. That's about 22 million people in this country that live in mixed status families. And so here's the answer, though. What would make you think that Donald Trump is not going to go after every single immigrant in this country that's undocumented? When have you ever heard Donald Trump sort of define what makes a good immigrant? Never. As we have heard from the past, Donald Trump and this movement believes that anyone that crossed the US-Mexico border without papers, unauthorized, is a criminal. They define that as a criminal activity. And so, again, it's interesting to see how these now ideas, are morphing into reality for people.
Imagine being from the 956 and having this stupid ass sticker. Are we serious right now?
Latinos who voted for Trump are very funny to me because they will try and justify what's going on in LA right now by saying, well, they're just picking up criminals. If they were following the law, then, this wouldn't be happening. Y'all are worried about the wrong criminals. While I agree we should be holding criminals accountable and, making sure they get their due process, but your meal over there should be in jail for putting hands on his girlfriend. You should be worried about that. Why are you protecting the criminals in your family? Let's worry about that first, okay?
Latinos for Trump are learning that loyalty does not guarantee protection, and proximity to whiteness does not offer safety either. They believe if they worked hard, followed the rules, paid taxes, built businesses, and stayed loyal politically, they would be accepted and protected. But that's not the case. Workers are afraid to go to construction sites, farms, restaurants, factories, and businesses because they fear ICE raids. Parents are afraid they might not come home after dropping their children at school, and our children have developed anxiety because they fear the parents who disappear overnight, So the emotional and economic damage spreads far beyond politics. But many were warned about Trump policies, but they mocked those warnings and they ignored the warnings. And some even came up with songs supporting Donald Trump. Many also thought by distancing themselves from other minorities would somehow make them exceptions. But history has shown us over and over again that system built on exclusion, they eventually expand beyond the original targets. Fear does not stay contained, and that people should stop voting emotionally against other vulnerable people, assuming that they will never be touched, And that regardless of any political view, nobody can deny the human cost of fear. Fear destroys trust, weakens communities, and creates long-term traumas that last generations. So yes, elections do have consequences, and not just for the people we dislike, not just for political opponents, but for the entire communities, families, economies, and our future. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.